this is our current center console trash, a mix of just pretty much everything. Like, it's just a garbage bin, it's a center console, it's a thermometer holder, it's a bit of everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to go take them all out. Now we've gone down to Officeworks and we've picked up some cardstock which we got back here, and what we're going to do with this is we're going to form up a bit of a like a mock sort of center console setup, and then we'll build it out of MDF after we've made the template out of this, and we'll build a nice big solid one that will go from the back here all the way to the front. We'll incorporate the handbrake, incorporate the transfer case levers or the full drive levers, and incorporate the gear levers, and we'll just tie it all up, and then we'll put in ports, USB ports, maybe some charging pads. We'll just make it really fully decked out and it'll look schmicko. So we're going to start by pulling everything out, cleaning it all right back, and start fabbing it up out of our cardboard. Let's go. This might be a good time lapse sequence. GoPro, start time lapse. So we've gone and emptied out the center console and the compartment just in front of the handbrake. So what we're going to do now is, off camera, we're going to rip out the handmade wooden center console, rip out this little bit and this gear lever shroud, and then that will give us enough room that we can start to fab up our template out of our cardstock and make it look pretty custom, and we'll just start getting into it, I guess. Alright, so we've gone and gotten the whole center console assembly out of the MK here. We've got the shrouds out, we've got pretty much everything out. So now with our cardstock, we're going to start to slowly piece together, jigsaw pieces basically, a new center console. So basically we'll wrap all the way up the front here, cover in here too, and then we'll be able to fit in with some maybe switch panels or some different bits and pieces. Move it around, fit it all up in here, and then come up here to a nice, can't even talk today, a nice center console with maybe, we're going to maybe work out a double din setup in the front here later on in the season. So we might try and find a way we can reuse these cup holders into the center console here that will sit just above here, so we can still use our cups and drinks, because obviously we get thirsty when we're wheeling and camping, whatever. So we'll grab our cardstock and we'll start jigsawing up a new center console mold. So we've just gone and traced out the old center console, which is this back section here. You can see, obviously it follows the same line. Then what we're going to do is going to dive down into the handbrake, come up and out, and this will then sit flush with the actual car seat. So nice on my butt cheek, sitting in the car. $150. So just a quick update on where we're up to. We've gone and marked out and cut some of the template inside the cab already. I'm just finishing up the passenger side now, which we've got to then mirror onto the driver's side. We'll go over and have a quick look. So here's our basic shape. We've sort of got our center console come down here's our handbrake. We're going to recess it in. It will then follow around the seat, around like that roughly, and then shoot back into the dash there, so square off about there. And then we'll copy it across the other side and then keep building on top of that. Obviously, we've got to then sort of all cut it nicely into here and then flush it all in and just basically just do some tidying up and cleaning up on the edges and that sort of stuff with our template so we can get it all nice and freely. On the bottom here, we've just gone and sort of, not routed, but sort of mitered it down a little bit to follow the concave of the cab floor. Left it up a little bit so we can run cables under and out so we can get power into the actual center console and all that sort of bits and pieces. But we will keep moving along and we'll show you once we've got the rest of the template built. So this line here, it's going to be a bit of an angle if you can see it on the camera, but basically the dash sort of rolls down, so rolls in, rolls down, I can't remember, anyway, so 325 at the top, 310 to the bottom, so this will then sit up on the floor that way. Once we've got it all in, we're going to grab the spirit level and we're going to go from this point back towards the back of the center console and then even it all out. So from the top of the dash, sorry, this should be the bottom of the dash, to the top of the center console flat, should be one nice miter in. So we'll do that right at the end and it'll be looking all schmicko and maybe looking like factory. So this is our rough thing. Obviously you can see there's a gap here and there's a gap up here, so we're gonna have to sort of grab our wire tool, which is around here somewhere, and basically push it on there, and then it will leave us a faint line of the angle. So we'll go and grab that, but basically that's how it's going to sit in there. It'll sit nice and flush. Might just trim out that a little bit. But alright, so we finished off making a template for the center console. So I've now gone and run down to Bunnings and I've picked up some MDF sheets. Now with the MDF sheets we're using 16mm and the sheets, I think they're like a 900 by 600, so just a little sheet, that's all we need. I've got another sheet sitting there, some mock cuts anyway. So here's our template that we've pulled apart already, and I've gone and traced one of them in here already, so we've got that side there. So I'll jigsaw that out. Then once I've jigsawed it out, I'm going to go and flip it, then draw it again on the other side, cut that one, so then we know that both sides are mirrored and it's all schmicko. Then we'll start moving forwards and then slowly building the console forwards and forwards and forwards with those miters and bits of pieces in the angles in it. So we will go by jigsawing this piece out first. Alrighty, so we've done a whole bunch of work on the center console. We'll give you a quick show of what we've done for the Cars Unlocked. So this is a bit of the setup that we had. So it was going to be center console, then that panel would sort of sit in there nicely, then the shoe, and then that last panel would sit in there. Now I've gone and stuffed around. It was like a good day and a half, and I absolutely hated it. I threw it in, had it all test fitted up, ready to go. And then I just absolutely hated it. I didn't like the look of it. It just didn't really flow. So we've gone back, basically, we've thrown in back the old factory standard center console contraption. So we got the dash sort of pocket there into sort of the shoe mount there for the gear levers. Then there was like a little handbrake tray underneath it, but I've left my custom made center console in there. So basically you can lift that up. I don't have a hinge on it at the moment, so we'll just take it out of the way. And we've got a great big box and a little empty tray there. So the plan is, with that little empty tray, is I might sort of cut it, and we might fit in like a wireless charging pad or a wireless charging tray. I got my iron one from Super Cheap. I'm just going to measure it and we can test fit it and see if it works. Basically, what we're going to do is put the hinge on the back side there, and then we'll be able to cantilever up or lever up, slide it back in. It is quite high up, which I do realise, but for me, I'm quite tall when I sit in the car, so with the elbow up at that height, it is actually really comfortable for me. I'm the one doing most of the driving, so don't like it. Anyway. But if you're going to build one yourself, you might need to play around with your own heights and depths and stuff like that, but it works for me. Anyway, so the next job is we're going to rip it all out. Then I'm going to screw it all together because it's only held in by 25mm brad nails from the nailing gun, and we'll wrap it in vinyl. But we'll show you the whole process for screwing it, and we might glue it and lots of stuff, and I'll show you how I pretty much built all the box. Alrighty, so we've gone and gotten the box out of the car. Now I've got my little router here, line trimmer, laminate trimmer, plunger router, whatever you want to call it. So we've got the round over bit, which basically will take the square edge of each corner and we'll just put a nice round on it. So we'll run all around all the edges, give it all a nice smooth surface. So I've got an old test piece here that I tried it with, and it's going to come out nicely. Let's see if I can show it on the camera, like that basically. So have a nice edge to it rather than that sharp MDF corners, and we can cut ourselves and do some mischief on ourselves. So we will run around that now and make it look all smooth and nice. Alright, so unfortunately I lost all the audio and the footage of the last little bit, but I'll link you in what happened between the sewing and the routing. So basically, once the routing was done, I went and screwed it all together using 15mm or 16mm chipboard screws, the MDF. So making sure that I pilot drilled them all using the quad driver from Makita, which I've got on my drill, which is just here. So it's just easy changeover. Basically, it means that when I screwed the ends in, that they weren't going to split apart and peel away. Being MDF, it's all just sort of fine pigments glued together. So it did help. I did get a little bit of swelling in some parts. I just obviously was a bit too close to the edge, but it did make a good difference. So if you're doing drilling on MDF or edges and corner pieces, definitely head to Bunnings, grab yourself one of those Makita quad drivers. 10 out of 10 rate. Anyway, so once I screwed it all together, I then went inside and measured it all out. Obviously you'll see with the vinyl, and then my mum, shout out to Debs, who's a regular on the channel, actually showed me how to use the sewing machine, which I'm super stoked. That's a pretty cool little thing to learn. So, and now the world's our oyster. We can go and sew more. We may even sew a nice little shifter boot for our transmissions, and we might even, Emma says hello, we may even reupholster some of the car. We'll see how it goes in the future, and we'll see what the car's up to anyway. So yeah, that's what happened in between there. Apologies because obviously it jumps, but that is what happened. I did lose a lot of audio and footage. So hopefully you're still enjoying the episode. So we've got the center console mocked up with our vinyl that we've just gone and stitched. So it's come up a treat. Now all it's left to do is staple the bottom down, wrap it around, staple it on the top as well. And then next we're going to do is cut the template out for the lid. Then once the template's cut, we've got our foam here, which will wrap over the top and around like that. We've got the spray on glue there, which we'll use to stick it all on, and then we will go and wrap that with our vinyl. So we'll keep working away at that. Alright, so we've finished off with getting the... So we finished up stitching the top for the center console, and I've stuck the foam down. So now we will go and grab the staple gun here, which will then wrap that around and staple the bottom side. So it all wraps around the bottom here, and then we'll staple on the inside there. So it all looks nice and tight. So we'll quickly go do that and we'll show you what it looks like. Alright, so we've got most of the vinyl all on now, so we'll have a look at what that's looking like now. So I've gone and stapled all around, ran all around, got it as tight as I could. Front was a bit of a iffy. I'm hoping that once I maybe add some like switch panels and different rocker switches on the front, I should be able to tighten it up over time, because it's still a little bit loose and like... Anyway, I'm not really too sure what to do there, but hopefully it fixes it over time. But the rest of it's all looking nice and tight. Some of the edges are a bit iffy, but I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out mostly so far. Anyway, so now I've got this, it's an actual door seal for like back doors and stuff, but I've got to cut it with the tin snips, and we're going to use that in the little gap for where the handbrake's going to sit. So when we have a look at it, it will sit up here. It sticks on from the back. So basically the handbrake will stick through, and then it's going to hit these fans on the side here, and basically it'll just stop any muck and crap falling on the inside of the actual box there and keep some dust out. So hopefully it looks all right. So I'll go stick that on now and we'll see what it looks like. Alright, so now that the actual center console is all vinyl wrapped, we can actually, wrapped in vinyl, we can go and put these hinges on, which I've got the hinges sitting just up here. So we've got these semi-concealed hinge just from Bunnings. So one was going to screw into the side there, and then this next one will screw flat on the bottom there. It's going to be offset, so when it hinges, it's got some room to hinge and actually open. Otherwise, it's going to be stiff and you won't be able to open it all the way. So it'll probably sit about there, I reckon, once it's all screwed in, which is still pretty like good. So there, and then it'll open up and allow for that top. So we'll go screw that in, and then we'll see what it's looking like after it's all screwed in. And we're all done. So hinges in, swings open nicely, sits in there. Now I've opted for a bit bigger of a screw than what was supplied in the actual kit, which is those tiny little things, just to obviously give it a bit more bite with the MDF. So yeah, opens nicely. This is the back side of it. Obviously you can see the screws picking out there. Might eventually change them over to like a black screw, so you're not going to see it, but darkest hinge I could find. But other than that, it looks pretty bloody good. So now that we've got it all set up, we'll go throw it in the car and see what it looks like all finished. And have a squeeze at that, all installed in the car. So it is a little bit difficult to open because obviously it's squeezed in between the, I don't know what you call them, like shoulder rests of the car, but it just makes it a bit more secure when it's open. It's not going to fall all the way backwards and snap and do damage. Anyway, it is bloody beautiful, apart from this front end, which I don't know what I'm going to do about that. If you have any suggestions on how to get these wrinkles out of vinyl because it's on an odd shape, drop it in the comments and let me know how I can fix it. And then at a later stage we'll figure out what we're going to do here. Probably put a charging station, or I don't know, maybe some buttons or something. I don't know. Leave your suggestions in the comments as well. Anyway, I'm super stoked that's all done, and it looks nice and schmick. And that is all we have time for today. So if you enjoyed that build and you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, do all that cool stuff to keep the channel going. We really appreciate it, and we will see you in the next episode. You won't want to miss it. Catch up.